Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of Awaken Your Spirit. We are your hosts. I'm Dr. Aaron Garcia.
And I'm Veronica Mendez Garcia. And today, like Aaron said, we have a special edition of Numerology Friday. And we're bringing on a special guest, and it's going to be all about numerology. We're going to do a quick interview with him, and then so you can get to know who he is. And he's going to be coming on every Friday at 10.
Yeah. So if you guys have ever asked, like, what's my purpose? What's my path? Should I go in this direction? Should I sign that contract? What's been fascinating is we've seen that there's a lot of stuff that actually goes really, really deep when it comes to numbers and numerology. Mm-hmm. And we find it very, very fascinating. So we're going to be sharing that with you guys. And then as we go through these sessions, you can ask your questions, ask your comments, type those here into the feed, and we will get to those to the best of our ability. But before we would like to start up any of our episodes and shows, we always do our inspirational moments with Veronica.
So inspirational moments is when I like to read something inspirational. And today I have a writing from one of my meditations. It says, "Thank you for being here. The entire world is going through a much needed change. Emotions are being expressed, new ideas are coming to fruition, and a lot of creative energy is being expressed. All of you are in this together as a collective. You have the ability to bring forth this creative energy in a positive way. Now more than ever is the perfect time to reflect and think about what's truly important. What does happiness truly consist of? Being connected to your true source will bring about a greater awareness, a greater understanding to the true meaning of life. Material possessions come and go, but the love and light that is within each and every one of you is something that will never go away. Even in the darkest of times, it will always be with you. Take time to embrace the light and love energy within you and feel the positive power. Allow yourself to express it in a positive way and impact those around you and show them that they too can express it. You are never alone. You are always loved."
If you guys enjoy that, give us some hearts, give some likes here into the comment feed. And if you find this very fascinating, very interesting, and know anybody that can benefit from the message that we share here, please share the show, because we never know who this message is going to impact. So we are going to get started here today in this new segment, our Friday episodes of Awaken Your Spirit, which is our What's in the Numbers. And we're going to bring on our very special guest, Darius Oliver. Veronica, go ahead and introduce him for us.
Okay, so Darius, he's a numerologist, a reflexologist, angelic Reiki healer, eclectic spiritualist, and he's a self-taught numerologist with a deep interest in Vedic astrology. He has been studying various forms of numerology, biblical, Chaldean, and Pythagorean for over 10 years. Darius also performs angelic Reiki energy healing and energetic foot reflexology. At the core of Darius's philosophy is respect for all beliefs and traditions and a reverence for the universal quest for esoteric knowledge. So let's welcome to the show, Darius Oliver.
Hey, Darius.
Hello. Hey. Hello. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate
it. Yeah.
So Darius had contacted us, and we were chatting over the last couple of weeks about doing this show. And so our whole goal is to, share with you guys a little bit more about what numerology is and what it can do for you in your life. And just kind of give you a little bit of more about Darius. For you, Darius, what got you into numerology in the first place?
Curiosity. Curiosity, and just want to know if it was really real. Because I came from a background where it was very religious, and I was taught that these types of things, I was raised to think these things were from a not so good source, right? So, but I still wanted to know. I'm like, okay, let me test it out and see. And so far from testing it out, I've seen from my own personal experience that it is very accurate in describing people like myself who wanted to know about me, and I wanted to know about me. And that's what I was curious about. And I found out through learning about me that I found out how a lot of other people's mind works. So it helped me to solve my own problems through the issues that other people have.
Mm.
So that's how it got. That's how I came to it.
Yeah.
Awesome. I've always been interested in astrology and angels and just things that that's not really talked about that much. Like the things that you can't see, but we know are there, that type of thing. And I used to subscribe to an astrology magazine, like this little astrology magazine years ago. But I've always been fascinated by, the numbers, the stars, like all that. And so it's great to have you here and talking about all this. And you do angelic Reiki healing. So I wanted to touch base a little bit on that, and how you work with that for people who don't really understand.
So, in a nutshell, Angelic Reiki is a healing modality. And what we do is we're working on healing the light body of trauma, of traumas that people experience in their life. Why it's called angelic is because many times we're tapping into that person's spirit team. Because everyone has a spirit team. And depending on who it is that is doing that healing session for you, you might get a message from one of your spirit guides. And when that happens, which is not always, not like every single time, but when it does happen, then it is usually giving some clarity or clarification on something you might be dealing with in that moment.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah. And when you talk about the numbers and numerology, and we've actually taken an astrology class, and you take from your birthday to the time you were born. I mean, just all these different facets, and it's like you get this print on you. You were doing that for us for the last couple of days, and sent us like a long list of stuff that tells us about us individually. And what I found it fascinating was it reminds me of, well, I know that there's many different systems out there to understand each and every one of us. Some people might understand like the DISC method, personality testing. There's also, I know I've looked at, from working with different people, from the Enneagram, which is looking at different life types and looking at what type of personality. Horoscopes would be what most people would identify with this. Like, are you a Pisces? Are you a Taurus? And you want to look at your horoscope and see what kind of a person are you. Numerology does that in a similar way, but just it can go very, very in depth, just like astrology. But they go hand in hand. When it's, do you agree with that?
I totally agree with that, because that is where before I got into numerology itself, I was looking into the Enneagram. I was looking into the Myers-Briggs. I really just wanted to know and understand myself. And I was like, oh, wow, I can read this number and it'll tell me about me. What? I can understand what the heck is going on up here. Like, wow. That's how I saw it. And I saw that back in high school, back in high school, early teens, that was what was interesting to me. I just wanted to know and, see if what I was going through was normal, right? Everyone wants that feeling of normal, but I do agree with those because they do have accuracy. In fact, for people that have not really resonated with numerology because of religious purposes, they have resonated more on the Enneagram or the Myers-Briggs side of things because it comes from that scientific perspective. Yeah. And so really good for, it's really good in that way. And so I definitely like this a lot.
So what do some people come to you for to do a numerology reading? Because I know it can be used for so many things. What are the most common things that people call you and want a reading on?
Basic needs. Basic needs as in the common 3 desires of all humankind. They want to know about love life. They want to know about wealth, happiness. They want to know about spirituality, and they want to know about Basically health, wealth, happiness, and family relationships. They want to know about those things. These are the things that everyone asks about.
Okay.
You know, but mostly what they're really seeking, but they don't know that they're seeking, is clarity. That's the number one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because clarity, you know, we come into this world and it's like sometimes we forget where we come from and we're trying to find our way back, and there's so much going on and we get stuck into the material world that, you know, we're really seeking that, you know, that place where we came from, like that happiness and joy that, you know, that is us.
And I found it fascinating because you had done some of our charts and numbers in the past, and I know a lot of things can change. But what was interesting when I was going through it, you were going through it with us, was about almost how spot on it was, and who we are, the things that we like, things that we should avoid based on our life path, which is from a numerology perspective, you call it like your life path number. So for myself, I believe I'm a 7. You're a 7 and I'm 8, because I know I'm one number after her. And so it's like, you can look at it as, also, you mentioned love life, is how compatible two people are based on their numbers. And it was like, when we were looking even our charts together, it was fascinating how, like, why we get along so well with each other, and maybe why some people don't.
Right. Right. And touching on that, I've learned a little bit since then about relationships related to numerology. But as it relates to the example that you mentioned, looking at your chart, two things are like really good to bring up, is that you, Aaron, your number comes out to 8, right?
Yeah.
And then Veronica, this comes out to 7. 8 is abundance, power, it's the connector, it's, you know, about flow. 7 is about introspection and analysis and thinking really deep. 7 is introverted, 8 is extroverted. Right? But when you add, so they're opposite, but here's the interesting thing about it. When you add the 7 and 8, it comes out to 15, and that comes out, you reduce it, you get 6. Okay. 6 is the number of love and like the home and the heart and family and duty, service. That's the number that your guys' life path makes together. It's like, and how it goes. Then another thing that I saw when I was looking at your guys' chart, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but we look for this. We definitely look for this when we're doing readings for people. It's something called a void, okay? It's called a void. Your life path directly fills Veronica's, or excuse me, basically your voids your numbers fill each other's voids.
So if I go back so for those that are watching and maybe they're trying to figure out, like, what are they talking about? So when you say like a void, it's like the things within us that I guess we can say are our challenges or weaknesses that we're not really good at, where somebody helps to fill that in. It's like that gap that some of us have, and the other person goes into kind of place that in there that makes us, I guess, whole or complete.
Right. And another way too, looking at it is, it's like a vacuum. And we may already have been working on it. Before you guys knew each other, you guys were already working on these things. But the other person comes in our life to assist us in working with that further.
So, okay, so I see and I've noticed this with you too, as we work well together, is where we might have challenge or weaknesses, that person, and correct me if I get this wrong, is like they're there to show you to work on that challenge.
Right.
Could be, they might push your buttons a little bit or bring that out of you, the things that are kind of dormant that you haven't dealt with. And that person is there to help you to bring it out rather than it being hidden.
Exactly.
It's like the karmic lessons in our life that help us to grow, and, you know, things that we need to work on to become, you know, that greater version of ourselves. You want to say it?
Exactly. That's why they say that the person that you're with is a mirror of you,
Interesting.
reflecting back to you what you already are. The things that we see in the other person, we're only able to see because we have it inside of us, good and bad.
So
Even,
true.
you know, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we see that all the time, and as when we share this with people, is sometimes what you don't like in other people is a lot of the times is you're seeing something within you that person represents, and it brings up different responses. It can bring up jealousy, envy, resentment, whatever that could be. Why do they have so much? Or, they're doing something I don't like. But how much times when we look in the mirror, we do something similar, we just don't see it in ourselves, but we see it in other people. We don't like it. And when we learn to change it within ourselves, and I only know this from personal experience, is it really, really, it's there when you pay attention to help you improving your life.
Exactly. And even when we see greatness in others, a lot of the greatness we admire in other people, we're blown away by how impressively that they do this or that, without realizing that we're only able to see that because we possess that seed inside of us.
That's awesome.
I want to say hello to a few people that are tuning in with us today. We have Mary Sterling is joining with us. She says good morning. Veronica and Aaron. Good morning. Good morning. She also says good morning. Darius. We got Gloria Coppola. I haven't seen her in a while. She says miss you. I just saw this pop up. Yay!
Awesome. Great to see you.
It's funny when we have certain topics, how certain people will definitely come in, because we know there's people that really get into these concepts. And this is why we decided to do this segment, which we're going to do every Friday for you guys. And we're doing a basic introduction today, get you familiar and introduced to Darius. And what we're going to be doing over these Fridays is, as we go through numbers, we'll be able to actually share things for you guys. And if you guys have questions or want to know, like, what does your birthday represent? What is your number? We're going to go over that and maybe give you guys some tips on what you guys can do in your life. We won't go super deep because it can get a little confusing. Right, Darius?
It can, but I have a way of keeping it simple.
Awesome.
We love simple.
So, Darius, do you use astrology in your everyday life? And like say you're going somewhere, or you're planning an event or something, like, do you use the numbers to kind of to guide you?
Yes, I do. I do, because it's important that I eat my own food.
Awesome.
I don't want to be a skinny chef. So, what I mean? So I use it because I personally have been watching it over the years, and I've seen people that have followed it, and I've seen people that have not.
Okay.
And I've observed the results of both. I've looked on both sides of that coin. I've been on both sides of that coin. And when I've been able to change my life by working with the flow of these things. It's kind of like how farmers, they'll plant stuff on the new moon or the full moon, or depending on what it is. There's timing to everything. It's just natural cycles.
Okay.
So when, like, say you do a numerology reading for someone, and you tell them, say they have a question of, like, should I do this or should I not? And based on the numbers, you give them an answer, and then they do the opposite. Have you seen, like, the repercussions of that?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Okay.
And did they come back and did you tell them, I told you so?
Well, what happens a lot, I don't like to, inside my mind's like, okay, I'm just like, okay, interesting. Because look, I approach it like a student, even though I'm a teacher, or, I still approach everything as me being a student. So what happens a lot of time is a person will come back to me a few months later, a few weeks or months later, like, I totally forgot about the reading, and they're like, you were right. I'll get a text out of nowhere talking about you were right. I'm like, who's this? They're like, remember you did that reading with me back in 2017? I'm like, whoa. Okay, tell me how'd that go? What I say? And then they tell me and this and that. But in many cases, it's just, people, it gives people an idea of what to expect so they know how to adjust properly.
So it's it's a guide, right?
It's a guide, yes. It's definitely a guide. And it's like if you're gonna plan a picnic, wise thing to do, especially if you're gonna invite a lot of people, is you're gonna look at the weather. Hey, look, what's the weather? And if you're gonna look at, what's the weather, and you're gonna see if it's gonna be conducive to having a lot of people. But if not, you might plan on having that picnic on that day, but maybe indoors. You might decide to have it into a potluck. So it gives you an idea, like, oh, hey, look, that's a great day, but it's gonna be raining. Maybe try indoors. Or no, that's gonna be a sunny day. Yeah, man, you're gonna have fun. That's the weather. But when it comes to the numbers, they want to plan, something else or do something, then we give advice accordingly. So it's similar.
It's similar to like when someone has a very highly in tune intuition and they have that gut feeling that says they should or should not do that. And it's like a more of a simpler guide for people that haven't developed that, where they can, if they just go with their numbers, it would help guide them, but it can go along with intuition as they're learning to develop that too.
Right.
Okay.
And that's a beautiful thing that you mentioned, because there's psychic people that don't even need this stuff. All right. Like there's psychics, they don't even need astrology or numerology. They just know. But for those of us that are still working on developing that aspect, this is like, the way I'll describe it is like a left brain approach to the intuition. A left brain approach to the psychic, right? To the intuitive. And I say psychic because we're all psychic, right? We all have that ability. But numerology and astrology, it helps us in the linear thinking process.
Okay.
So when, like, say you give someone a reading and then it's regarding a person or something, and then it's like saying no, the numbers say no on this person, but then they go ahead anyways because in that moment I guess things are okay, but then down the line something happens. And would you say it just needs to happen that way, like they need to experience what's going on, and then if the relationship ends, then it ends? Or would you recommend like they just not get involved at all to avoid certain maybe hurts or things like that?
That's an awesome question, because that's something that comes up when people ask those types of questions. We have to be very careful because there are certain ethics involved in it.
Yeah.
Even karmically. If we give advice and someone acts on that advice, what if they were supposed to learn a karmic lesson from that individual?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
We'd
It's like we'd have the code book with a cheat sheet where we would never make a mistake ever. and then through our mistakes is where we grow. So it's like, okay, well, I got the answer sheet right here. I don't have to learn. I just copy the answers.
Right. And so how we, that's a good point. And how we address that is there's certain ways that we'll answer it. Because we always want to remember that no matter what I say, that person will always have free will.
Yeah.
Okay. That person will always have free will to make the decision that they want. Someone comes to me and says, hey, how long is this relationship going to last? I've had that. And, that is not a question you want to answer. It's just not. You don't want to put yourself in that situation. It's like, but when they ask you, you can look and say, hey, you guys have this strength right here and this strength right there. Around this time, you may notice that it might get a little bit difficult. And it might be a good time to really communicate better.
Okay.
Or it might be a good time to be more understanding, be able to adapt to any changes that may come on that person's side. You know, or this person may be going through A, B, and C. They may feel like they need a little bit more time alone, and it'll be important for you to understand that when that happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and not take it personally, because it's totally not you. In the case where I'm speaking to someone.
Okay.
You mentioned. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, I said I was agreeing. I was like, that's fascinating.
Oh yeah, and then in the case where Veronica, you mentioned like sometimes the numbers, do they just say no? Now I do know readers that will straight up tell you no, like no, it's not. Like, and they're not necessarily, they're not numerologists. They're, you know, just psychic, and that is what they're getting. You know, and they have a, you know, they have just a different dynamic with how they do things. But in this case, we're able to see potentials. We're able to see, we don't talk in terms of this will happen or this will not happen.
Yeah.
We want to tell people the potential, because the numbers can always play themselves out in different ways. Even the planets. Even the planets. The planets, if you want to talk about the difference between numerology and astrology, I would say that numerology gives us the framework. It'll draw us the sketch. Astrology will color and fill it in, all the details and the depth, the different shades of blue, different shades of green, and add the tone and all that stuff. So they work hand in hand. They're literally one system.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make one system better than the other.
No, in fact, and here's one of the beautiful things about these sciences is that the reason why we can call them sciences, some people would say that they're pseudosciences, but the reason why we can call them sciences is because if you go to a good astrologer, a good numerologist, good psychic, a good tarot reader, they're going to tell you the same thing. They're going to tell you the same thing. In fact, I have a buddy that went to an astrologer friend of mine, and then went to me for a numerology reading, and he was frustrated. I'm like, why are you frustrated, man? He's like, because you guys told me the same thing. I'm like, well, wouldn't you expect that of something that's a science? If something's true, I mean, there's only one way of it being true. So that just means that it's, you know, you got double confirmation on the same thing. So he was like, okay, I guess that makes sense.
Do you find that when people come to you or try to go through these readings, like they go bounce from different person to hear the answer that they want to hear?
That can happen. Yes, it can happen. It can happen, but it's not necessarily a bad thing either. Like when you go to a doctor, how many opinions do you get? You usually get 2 opinions. Why? Because these sciences are so vast. The knowledge is so big. Astrology is like an ocean. It's like an ocean. And so is numerology. So no one can know everything. No one can know everything. Now, it doesn't mean that it invalidates what the first person said. But by getting a second opinion, you're able to balance one perspective with another perspective and come to something mutual. Like, for instance, I have a mentor. I have a mentor that I've been working with since like 2017. And she is intuitive, psychic, very gifted, just very gifted. And she'll describe certain things to me. She'll tell me these things in advance, describe certain people to me. And I'll look in my Vedic astrology chart. And in that chart, I'm like, man, she just described this person that I haven't even met yet. Like, intuitively, psychically, she described an individual. She described people. And I look in my chart, I'm like, whoa, Okay. And so like a lot of my learning, yes, I learned from studying the books and stuff, but it comes to a different point when you live it, right?
Yeah.
You live it, then it becomes experiential.
So that now, once I want to now segue into that concept. And for those that are just tuning in right now, you're watching a special edition of Awaken Your Spirit. We are your hosts. I'm Dr. Aaron Garcia.
And I'm Veronica Mendez Garcia, and we are speaking with numerologist Darius Oliver. And, what's in the numbers? Is there a birthday that, you want to know more about yourself? You can give Darius your birthday, and he'll be able to tell you a little more in detail about you.
Yeah. So let's dive a little bit into that to give you guys a taste of what the next episodes are in the next few weeks, or you can expect. And so we're going to use ourselves as the example today. And Darius did pretty much Veronica's chart. He did my chart. We're not going to go fully into that because we can be here for a while. But some of the basic things that we'll share with you, because earlier we talked about our life numbers, what our life path is. And some people might not know, well, how do you find out what your number is? Could you share that for a little bit?
Yes. So you can find one of the quickest, easiest ways for those that are out there, besides dropping your number in the comment box, your birthday, and I'll tell you a little bit about it if there's time. But one of the quickest, easiest ways is just take the day of your birth and add those two digits together. And whatever number you get, look that up online, like Google. What is the meaning of the number 5? And then see how that pertains to you.
Okay.
And then, whatever your number happens to be, if someone's born on the 6th, what does number 6 mean? Go online, look at the traits that it embodies. It is talking about love, harmony, balance, doing well materially. It's a really good number for family and parenthood. So all these different things come under the number 6. But then every other number also has meanings too. That's the quickest, easiest way if you want to find out what one of your numbers is.
Got it. And the way you add those up, so if we're looking at, let's say like your full birthday. And so like mine just passed, so it's May 20th, 1981. So you would take those numbers as if you would like a calendar date from you would do the 2 digits and the full year.
So what the one way that people can do it is like this. So say for instance, in your case, Aaron, you're born, if we're using your name as an example, okay, we'll take 25 and then you mind giving your age out?
My actual age or the year?
Well, the year.
The year is 1981.
All right, cool. Well, I mean, I know what it is.
39. I'm okay with my age.
All right, cool. Just got to make sure, you know what I mean? What you say it online can't take it back. I mean, you can, but it's a little bit hard. But so one thing that a person can do is say 2 plus 0 plus 5 plus 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 1. The number that we would arrive at from adding that together is, do you know what that is from adding it together? Right off the bat, comes out.
If you get a 2-number digit, I just know the reduced number.
All right, perfect. It comes out 26. I didn't add it up to my mind that quickly, so I'm like, wait, okay. So it comes out to 26, right?
Yeah.
So it didn't come out to a single digit yet. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna add that 2 and 6 together.
Okay.
And that 2 and 6 adds up to get 8. So that would mean that the code of your life path while you're here on the earth, like, in this lifetime, is 8.
Okay.
8 would be what we call your life path. And the number 8 has the meaning of abundance, power, connection, disconnection, social interaction, flow, wealth, comfort, money management, lack of money management, and everything in between. Positive end of the spectrum and negative end of the spectrum.
Okay, so it's not always, it's going to have you all the good, but it's going to show also where some of the weaknesses could be. That doesn't mean they're set in stone, but it's areas that you can work on, correct? Okay.
Because it's a tool of expansion. It's a tool of empowerment and self-improvement.
And I like how you said it's a tool. And you use it as a tool to guide you, correct?
That is all that it is.
Okay.
Yep.
That is all that it is. It's a tool. And it's something that can, when you learn how to use this tool, it can really help you. Because as an example, you would, being someone that has a life path 8, you'd notice when there's a house that you're going to and you add up the address number and it equals 8. You'd be like, huh, what's going to happen here related to my life path? Something happens on the 8th or the 17th or the 26th. Because the reason we chose those dates, because when you add up the numbers, it equals 8. I wonder what's going to happen related to my life path with that day. It makes you look at things differently. It makes you observe your world and interact with it differently. Especially family members that you've always gotten along with and didn't know why. You add up their birthday and find out that they got a life path 8, or they're born on the 8th or the 17th, or their name equals 8. And you're like, whoa, that's why I get along with them. Or they have a soul number that equals 8 and they just feel so drawn to you, and like, like a family member, a friend that you've had since childhood has their soul number that adds up to 8, and you guys have been tight like this and you don't know why until you look.
I don't know why it popped up into my head. I guess this is the doctor part of me going back to anatomy. Was we have 206 bones in the body, and what does that add up to? You see how where numbers can take you guys?
I was born on the 8th.
You just blew his mind.
There you go. I mean, and see, it's like when you look, it makes you look at everything differently, right? It's just like, that is a perfect example. Boom, right there, perfect example.
And as you were talking about earlier, so we're talking about just the basic traits of the life path number, and every number has a certain trait characteristic that, like you said, you can look it up, you can Google it. I know there's lots of books on these concepts as well. And so you are a 7. Let's do Veronica. So she's a 7.
7, perfect. So what's the meaning of 7, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So 7, I mentioned a little bit earlier, 7 is the number of introspection and analysis. It's about going deep. People that are life path 7 are very curious about how things work. They want to know. And they ask question after question after question. And until they know. And they just keep digging. And it's definitely people that have life path 7, they for instance, Princess Diana had a life path 7. Marilyn Monroe was life path 7. It's definitely a number that can interact, but it's also important that it has that alone time to reflect, because that's what 7 also does. It's the introvert. It is introvert, and all that means is, it's not like, oh, I'm a 7, I just want to be by myself all the time. It means that they recharge internally, as opposed to extrovert, which recharges externally and gets the rush out of being around a lot of people.
Okay.
The introvert gets that recharging by being like being in isolation, or just kind of reading, or kind of Netflixing and just binge watching, and
No, that's not you. But meditating.
Meditating, yeah.
Meditating, right? Anything where the person is able to spend time with their own energy, basically.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So as we're talking, so for those that want to know what their path number is, take your birthday, all the numbers, even the double digits, even if it's a zero in there, you just add the numbers up, and you're going to come up with a number or two numbers. You want to reduce it to one specific number. So like for myself, if you add up my birthday, it came up to 26. I take 2, I add the 6, and that makes me a life path 8. Veronica has hers as a 7. I want to say hello to a few people that are joining with us as well. So we have Tiffany Cooks joining us. This is Darius. She says, what's up, man?
What's up?
She says also hello to us too. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we're talking about life path numbers. We're just kind of warming up the concept of what numerology is, and you want to know what the numbers are. So once you can do the math, then you can see what does that represent, correct?
Right.
So my daughter's a 3.
Ooh, nice. So you added it up. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So what's her birthday?
4/26/2007.
Perfect. Yep.
So this will also work out. Hang on. So this will also be for Tiffany as well. Life path 3.
Yeah, she's a 3 also.
All right. So listen to this.
Awesome. See, look, coincidences, right?
Perfect timing.
Right? So 3 is the number of expression and sensitivity. It's also the number of ease, of good living, good times, joy, happiness. Now, and of course there's a positive side, and then there's the shadow side, right? As far as the 3, it is here to work and develop and to learn how to be happy. It's about self-image and developing a positive self-image, and really, learning how to use its expression in a way that upbuilds. 3 is related to the planet Jupiter. And so, the thing with Jupiter is that Jupiter is the most positive of all the planets. It just wants to, it's like that guy, Jupiter is that person, that guy or girl that just smiles at everybody that he comes across. Like, hey, look, I'm Jupiter. I want to help everybody. I want to just do good just for the sake of it. That's why 3 is known to be very pleasant as an energy.
Okay.
And with 3, some of the careers that people with life path 3s end up doing is a lot of things dealing with entertainment industry, entertainment, communication, writing, publishing, acting, cinema, directing, anything that allows them to performing arts, spoken word. They make the best. They make the best public speakers. When a person is having a personal 3 year, which something that we'll touch on later on, when someone's having one of those, they'll find themselves in more situations of communication, opportunities of cinema, opportunities of performing arts. They'll be around people that are doing those things. Life will just naturally bring them in those environments.
Okay.
And so that's, and anything creative with the hands, anything like that too.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because my daughter is very creative. She likes to draw. She also likes to do theater, except right now she hasn't been able to because of the whole coronavirus thing. But she's into theater and the arts. She likes music, and she speaks very well for her age. But also, my birth month is a 3, so I'm March.
Yes.
So does that kind of tie in as well?
And the day is an 8.
And the day is an 8.
Yep. So you see, that's a really good example right there. You see, because energetically, you're able to see karmically that she matches. You guys all match.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And she's born on what day?
The 26. So that's
Okay.
again 8. Yeah.
There we go.
It's all like a triangle. That's cool.
You see, and you start to just see around you and how things just play out like that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Tiffany says, I feel like I've been working closely with the shadow side of my 3 for a while now.
And that's really good because it takes, you know what I mean, a bird can't fly with one wing. You know, it needs 2 wings to fly. There's a light aspect of every number and the shadow aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because we live, you know, without going too deep into it, we're in a world where we have duality. We learn through contrast. To learn what we like, we sometimes learn what we don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To learn what we want, we sometimes learn what we don't.
Yeah.
And just to throw in another thing, 3 does very well in real estate too.
Interesting.
So, you know, they often get involved in real estate. It's normal. You find a lot of realtors that have 3 present in their charts.
Fascinating. And it's really interesting because when we go back to this concept of duality, for those that we talk about the shadow side of ourselves, you know, different terminology could be, well, strengths and weaknesses, things you're good at, things that we're not good at, areas that we need to heal on the inside that, you know, where we're very confident, and areas that we might feel not so confident. So that's what we're talking about. That shadow side is, where are the areas that can creep up on us at certain points where we say, wow, this is really affecting me mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually on top of that. And so when you can use your numbers, you can identify, at least again, using the chart as a guide of, wow, this could be the areas of your weaknesses. And that'll let you know, that's why I've had challenges doing this type of career. This is why I've had a hard time in these areas, because maybe we've been doing something that hasn't been really geared towards our strengths. And that's one way we can use it, correct?
Right. And especially in the case of the numbers that we call voids, is the way that we can manage those is by focusing on the positive aspects of those numbers, those characteristics. That's how we can manage those. And when those time frames come about, you know, we can definitely focus on that, and it just brings a greater awareness to it so it can be addressed. And you know, you mentioned I like how you were using using phrases to help understand the meaning of shadow and what that means. And another aspect of that is, if we're facing one direction all our life, we're focusing on this one direction all our life, and I'm just using this for the sake of illustration.
Okay.
Then someone tells us, hey man, look, the sun's been shining. It's a beautiful day, but look right behind you and look down. What's that thing? Like, oh wow, that's a black little shadow. Like, what's that about? You know, oh, I didn't know that was there. Oh, and it looks just like me, but it's reverse. It's the things that I'm not aware of. It's the part, as they would call it, unconsciously incompetent. Different degrees of consciousness.
Yeah.
Conscious competence, unconscious competence, conscious incompetence, and then unconscious incompetence, where we're totally just not aware that we don't even know.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times that information is contained in that quote unquote shadow, or those other aspects of ourselves that we haven't explored. And a lot of those shadows can be revealed through the contrast that we experience in the duality, showing us things that we don't like to show us what we do. So that we can use the law of attraction and be very specific in the thing that we're trying to bring about.
Interesting. So let's do an example. So we were talking earlier about a life path 3. So we were talking about our daughter, but also we have Tiffany here that's a life path 3. She has a couple questions. She says, if I remember correctly, when your number adds up to a number like 30, that means something too?
Yes, it does. So, and I'm glad that Tiffany asked that question. That's a really good question. So that double digit number, that 30, that is what we call a compound number. So compound number gives us more of a flavor of what kind of 3 energy that is. And why is that important? Because, man, look, how many people are on the planet? Millions, billions, people in a city, thousands, all, you know what I mean? How many life path 3s are there in the world? How many life path 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s? All of them. There's only 9 life paths.
Mm-hmm.
So you got all these different varieties, but now that compound number helps us to see more clearly. It helps us to be a little bit more specific with what we share with someone.
So what do you mean by compound number? What does that mean?
Compound number means when 2 or more numbers are next to each other.
Okay, so as an example, like when we added my numbers, it ended up to be a 26. So that's the compound.
Exactly.
Which would reduce to the 8. The 30 would reduce to a 3. So just that 26 alone has meaning to it.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
In fact, if I'm going to put that out in plain language, I would say that the 8 would say that Aaron's here to learn about how to manifest power in a way that is for the highest good of all involved, all concerned. Mm-hmm. How to manifest flow and move freely about and interact with many people. So that's what that 8 life path is going to tell me, that's why you're here. But if we want to get specific, in what context is Aaron going to be learning those lessons? He's going to be learning those lessons with around the 2 energy and the 6 energy. What is 2? 2 is relationship, others, particularly women. And then the 6 is related to family, nurturing, responsibility, and duty, even duty to country. And so it would tell us that through relationships, you would learn nurturing, which would help you to develop the 8 connection and flow. And that through relationship with family and others at the home is where you would find power, as a few examples.
Okay. And I know that's just like surface stuff, right? But they're here to give you an example. And Tiffany's laughing out loud right now. I don't know if she's laughing at me or just laughing at the numbers.
So
she says, "Oh, why what?"
Okay, so she was wondering. Okay, so for the 30. So for the 30, here's where we go on this. So 3, like we mentioned, it's representing the expression, sensitivity, happiness, and joy. But now when we combine it with the 0, 0 has an awesome meaning to it, okay? 0 represents the womb. It represents God, because 0 expands whatever it comes across. So it doesn't mean that people that have the 0 are God, like, oh, not like that. But it means that whatever number that the 0 comes, it's going to expand it. It's going to make it bigger. So that 3 is about happiness and creativity and expression. It's going to do that, and it's going to do that expanded. Whatever you add 0 to, it's going to add strength. It's going to add intuition. Okay. It's going to add a greater level of sensitivity and an understanding from a different perspective than other numbers. 0 represents God because God exists outside of the realm of creation. God does not exist within God exists, right? The universe, whatever a person wants to call it. It exists, but it exists outside of the realm of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It exists before. And if you look at the shape of 0, where does it begin and where does it end?
Ooh, interesting.
Let's see.
Wow. So she says, do the numbers tell you when this is going to happen? Because I'm really ready for that expansion to be over this shadow work itself. So when is this challenge finally going to be over with? Can the numbers tell me when this is going to end? Is it like an end date to this?
That's what we do. We tell, hey, look, you're in this cycle, and this lasts. From your chart, if I do a reading, because that's a good question. I get that, when I'm doing sessions of reading for people. I make a chart for them, and it tells me, hey, look, like if you look in your chart, guys, like if you look in your chart, and I'll just show this to the audience. And totally do not ask. I mean, you can ask, but I'm not gonna, not you guys, telling the people, like, right? You can ask a question, but I might not go into it right now because it's deep. But this page right here, and I don't know if it's mirrored or anything like that, but each one of these little boxes.
Let me see if I can pop it up closer. Hang on for a second here.
Each one of these little boxes. Can you see?
Yeah, it's a little blurry, but they can see at least the outline of it.
All right, perfect.
And it might show up more clear on the video.
Maybe
on our end.
Each one of these little boxes gives us a time frame for which some things are being experienced. And so it'll tell us, hey, look, you're experiencing this cycle, and it lasts from age 22 to 23. And that person could be right on the tail end of experiencing that, whatever that energy was.
Okay.
And so that's an example.
Got it. And so for those if you had a hard time seeing that, so it's just using those numbers in there, and there's you sent us like almost like 10 pages, I think it was. So that's how deep
it goes
this can go, and really figuring out. So when you talk about numbers, it wasn't just like, oh, we give you like this manual of life, and it's 3 pages long.
Here you go. Simple. Manual of life, just there you go.
The Bible wasn't a little pamphlet, right?
No.
And there's more than one scripture. Right.
In fact, and I do have a numerology mentor that I met him. I discovered him back in 2017. But he told me this. He said, a book can be written just from the numerology aspect, a book can be written about every single day of your life.
Wow.
That's how deep this goes.
Wow. That's a lot. Tiffany says, he did my reading right when I started to wake up, and even though I don't remember it fully, I remember it was crazy accurate. But that was almost 4 years ago, and now that I'm more understanding, it would be interesting to hear it again.
Yeah. And
this is what you were talking about earlier, right? Is someone might hear the message today, and it may not make sense to them right now. Mm-hmm. You're going to be doing this, you're going to be doing that, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And they're like, oh, okay, Darius, excuse me. There we go again. And 4 years later, oh my God, you said this earlier. And that person calls you up. Remember that reading? And you're like, I have no idea. I've done so many readings. And like it finally happened, or what you said was pretty spot on. And it was like 4 years for that to take place.
Right. And it has been that time frame, like 4 years. It's been time frames of 2 years. It's been time frames of 2 months. And there's certain specific things that I'll say, but like I said, I got to be very careful how I say it. One case was in the beginning of, sometime last year, like in August, I did a reading for somebody, and she came back in December and was like, you were right. I'm like, whoa, about what? She was like, you said that there would be someone dealing with an addiction. And it turned out that it was the person that she was dating. That person had an issue with that. And it was, she was actually asking And at the time that she was getting the reading, she was with that person. And I said, hey, look, around that time, this theme may come up.
Okay.
Related to such and such. I'm not saying that it's him or it's not, because, but what it is telling is that this issue will be brought up. Just pay attention to that.
That's interesting.
Fascinating. So I hope you guys are getting really hooked on this right about now, because this isn't the end.
I know I have so many other questions.
But this is why we are going to do this as a regular segment every single Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Darius is going to be joining here with us. And if you guys have questions for yourself, you want to know more about what your life path is, things that might be showing up for you, we're going to talk about that here. So if you have questions, type those here into the comment feed, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay. And if you want to get reminded each time that we go live, make sure you guys, we do this show from at our page at Aaron and Veronica. So make sure you go to that page, like and follow us, and turn on the live reminders for this video, so that way you never miss an episode that we do here each Friday.
And Tiffany said 2017 is the year we all connected, and that was a big year for all of us.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
I got that one.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And Tiffany's excited. In fact, she is freaking excited.
That's right.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so I want to just thank you for being here with us today, and you're gonna be with us next Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, like I mentioned for you guys, and we're live here on Facebook and also on YouTube. So if you haven't done so yet, go to our YouTube page, Aaron and Veronica. Make sure you subscribe and hit the live notification button so you always get the reminders. And make sure you comment and then type in your questions here ahead of time. You'll get the reminders. That way, if you have something you want to know specifically about yourself, type those in, and we'll go through those through these next few Friday episodes.
Yeah. And if people want to reach you, Darius, directly, where can they find you?
Definitely on my Facebook. You can find me there. Send me a message. Send me, write something on the wall. You can message me directly on Facebook Messenger. You can also call my number. It's 209-898-4103. And we can set up an appointment, book a consultation. If you want to look at your numbers more in depth. That's 209-898-4103.
Okay.
Awesome.
We'll make sure we pop those here into the feed, and we'll get those each time when we're here live. So
I'll type it in right now.
Yeah, we'll put it up there. Again, here's the link. You guys go to facebook.com/Aaron and Veronica. This is where we'll be going live from. And if you find that there's anybody that might be fascinated or interested in these topics, make sure you share the show with them. Invite them in here. That way, because we're going to have a lot of fun just figuring out who you are, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, and guide you. Not tell you what you need to do, but just guide you so you can take the right course of action.
And your number again, 209-803?
209-898.
Oh, 898. Okay.
4103.
4103. Okay, got it. Okay, I'm going to put it in the feed right here.
Yeah, you guys make sure you add up those numbers and find out what that means to you. Isn't this fascinating? That once you start getting into this, you're going to start calculating everything.
Yep, that can happen. That can happen. But it's really fun when it happens and you understand what it means.
So thank you guys for joining us here on What's in the Numbers. We are your hosts. I'm Dr. Aaron Garcia.
And I'm Veronica Mendez Garcia. And we want to thank Darius Oliver for joining us today.
All right. Join us here next week and get the live reminders, share the show, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Awesome.
Bye.
Peace.
Thank you.